You guys missed the theme song? I know you do. I know some of you do. It's a good theme song. Wait, I gotta look spiffy for my episode. I should have looked a little spiffier today. That's right. What are we talking about today? We're talking about mob lies. That's right. Instead of mob ties, let's talk a little bit about mob lies. About how Sam Giancana, is it Sam Gian? There's so many of them. Sam Giancomo, Sam Giancana. I believe it's Sam Giancana. Of the Chicago outfit. Right? He was CIA. Pablo Escobar, CIA. Okay? It was interesting. They had 2 television shows about Pablo Escobar, and both of them failed to acknowledge it. During one, that's when it came out that he was CIA. Most guys like us understand notions like this, and it seems that there's a couple different kinds of people in this world, right? We always say that the kind of people, when you ask them directions, they give them to you, and then there's the kind of people who mess with you and send you in the wrong direction and think it's funny, run back, giggle behind their hand, and tell their buddies, right? And oh wait, I should have prepped my show. Am I looking spiffy? Yeah, that's right. Look what I got. I got my coffee. Shut up. My 50-cent refill coffee I got. And then I just add ice. Right? So this is day-old coffee. The gentleman in here, look at all this moo juice. Look at the moo juice, guys. Oh, maybe that's a little bit too much. Ooh. I still got a little. Yeah, it's a little too light. That's a little too light than what I like. Ooh, but guess what? Looky. There we go. Docking it up there. Docking it up, yeah. That's how I like it. Ooh. There we go. And this is how I'm living. I'm telling you. I'm showing you what it's like to be homeless in Los Angeles. In case you don't know, after my divorce down in Florida, it was full tilt boogie on me, and some of the people involved were people that I thought that I knew. Now, they might not have been friends, but I did know who they are. Check my other episodes. You want to talk to me, you're welcome to come on my show. Anyone who I've named. So good. Yeah, if I called you up by name, you're welcome to come on my show. I'm not interested in any more of these old friendships. These people told me what they think of me. That's cool. So did my family. My family's been telling me for 50 years. That's 5 decades. Right? But I'm an old softy, whatever. Unlike them, they're fake sociopaths, just like my wife, taking too many SSRIs. It has nothing to do with male, female, masculine, feminine. It deals with personality types, okay? So this is just a fact. And I don't believe in rewarding bad behavior, but it looks as though, you throw your weight around, you got a big enough mouth, maybe you get further in life. I don't know. I just do what I do. So what we're talking about here is having a military mindset, and I think a lot of people in academia don't have this mindset. Okay, of course there's people in academia who've been through the military, but a lot of the stuff that's going on right now in the state, I can see it clear as day. Why? Because I came up in the 1980s, so we have a little bit more perspective, right? And I remember back in the 1980s, during Ronald Reagan, they started kicking people out of mental or behavioral health facilities. And that's what caused the quote-unquote homeless crisis. And you couple that with the ensuing years of globalism, where we're moving the jobs, right? Moving the jobs specifically out of Detroit. Okay, that was one of the first ones, which started when? In 1969. They started busing at the same time. And I'm sorry, if you're looking for reparations, that's why they came up with affirmative action, okay? And affirmative action is just, it's like, sorry. It's almost like if they say it exists, then it exists, okay? When I was coming up, there were people of all different ethnic backgrounds at the same schools, okay? And so anyone can get hired at any place. Like I said, I came up in Detroit in the same place as these my detractors who live in the suburbs, and guess what? We would have all been working at the same factory at American Axle. We would have all been working there. I chose not to work there. I went to New York City. I started working as an extra, as an actor, that kind of thing. I'm trying to think of some other celebrity sightings that I had. Not really many come to mind. In case you don't know, right here on this show, I figured out that I saw Tom Cruise and Nicole Kidman before they shot Eyes Wide Shut. And I had written 2 songs about Stanley Kubrick. One was called Lick the Boot, which is basically a Yo Mama joke. The lyrics are a Yo Mama joke. And don't ever forget, they created an entire MTV series out of a Yo Mama joke. Right? I did a lot of work for MTV. And then I quickly learned that they didn't pay. They weren't paying people. And so I took less and less jobs by them. I stopped calling them back when I would see the number on my page or whatever. That's how we were rolling back then. So you can see this. I can see this trajectory very clearly. And like I said, there's a lot of people in academia who don't have a military mindset. Okay? Like I said, the police. Now, going back to JFK, the film by Oliver Stone, with the kinetic editing that we're all used to today with our TikTok videos, okay? That's the same kinetic editing. That's what we're going into. You're going into an alpha state. You're going into a hypnotic state, right? You're being hypnotized by when you're living orthogonally. And what's worse is if there's a Fed rat, he can crank up the algorithm from these companies like Facebook. That's why Elon Musk fired 80% of Twitter, and he changed the algorithm. That's what he did. So whether this is going to be for good or evil, only time will tell, right? Only time will tell. It's kind of interesting how we have these megalomaniac billionaires and everybody's just kind of okay with it, right? Can you see these people? Can you see the trajectory of these people being made, being created, right? A long time ago I remember the last episode I was talking about comic books, comic book culture. Everybody's into comic books. I'm not really into them at all, but hey, whatever. Action figures. You got grown men collecting toys. I remember when they used to talk about a men's toys being his guns, his boats, his cars, his motorcycles. Those were toys for men, okay? Not literal toys, not action figures, not, models and this kind of garbage that you just buy at the store, okay? We are not about the Gucci shoes here. And that's what I call these people. I call these people Gucci shoes. That's what they are. All they care about is materialism, okay? Now, there's nothing wrong with wanting to have something, but if that's your limited view, that's the only place that you can get to, right? And again, with me, it's about like camaraderie. I was never about one-upping somebody or shit-talking anybody, but I do on my show now. I'm 57 years old, son, and, we'll see what's what. I'll tell you that. But anyway, so we have this notion of Sam Giancana. He was CIA, okay? And then we also have the notion of when it was mentioned in the film JFK that there was a big rivalry between the CIA and the FBI. We're never told what that rivalry is. We're never told, okay? So what it is, what I'm surmising based on things that I've read and studied over the years, and like I said, you had those guys on Gavin McInnes's show, these dumb local cops who are just getting in their 20 years, getting their pension, getting the fuck out. They don't care who gets shot in their own park, right? They don't send people who look like the people that they're policing into the neighborhood, you know, and this is just weird, right? We all know it's just bizarre. Like, why would you send somebody who lives out on Long Island into Manhattan to work at one of the tenement buildings in Section 8 housing? Nothing in common, doesn't listen to the same music, doesn't speak the same lingo, as it were, right? So, you know, it's this kind of stuff that it just seems, when it seems easy to us to fix something in government that we could see is wrong, and we are the government, by the way. There is something called synarchy. Those are our benefits. That's our money. They're doing our bidding, and we seem to forget that. Okay? These elected officials are doing our bidding. That's what they're supposed to do. The whole point of having a quote-unquote democracy and a government, a representative republic, is the fact that the people in the Senate had already been established. I wouldn't want to see a 25-year-old in the Senate. That's why you got somebody like Bill Maher, who's basically stoned in his basement the way I was back when I was 16 years old. He's still living in that stoned basement doing a podcast, telling everybody that he wants to see a 25-year-old in Congress. That's the last person I would want to see in Congress. You know what I was doing when I was 25? Drinking, fucking, and fighting. I was playing in a punk rock band. Okay? So you have this nihilistic bent. It's easier to put on a beret, change your name to Shay, when you're that age. Right? Look at what happened to Patty Hearst. Okay? They didn't kidnap Patty Hearst when she was 35. Right? I don't know how old she was, but she was obviously a teenager into her early 20s. This is when you want to get people. They don't recruit people in the military when you're 25 and 30 years old, right? Last year I was talking about doing a comedy about 9/11. Is it even possible? I mean, it just doesn't seem like, right? The only way you could do a comedy about 9/11 is if you're doing it without including the big event itself, right? You're focusing on the people trying to get together to go into Manhattan to try to help, right? And even still, it's too much. Because the reason I think about that is because I think about, especially, what was the Spielberg film? I love this film, 1942. Is it like 1941 or 42? I think it's 1942. It's a great film. I love this film. Ned Beatty. They actually drive a tank through a house. I mean, there's no CGI, guys. There is no CGI. Okay, and so this is like, wow. You know, they're actually doing it, and it's like, you're talking about construction. You're talking about, like, you have to have 3 cameras set up. You hope you can check the gate and there's not going to be like a hair on the gate, to ruin the shot, right? That's why you have to have multiple cameras and all this kind of stuff. So that's the logistics going into filmmaking that I was used to back when I was a production assistant. Again, I was young, I was hungry, but I was also writing the entire time. Now, don't forget, I was a writer. In my band, I had to write all the lyrics. Then I had to figure out how to sing and play at the same time. Okay, everybody says, they make it look easy. They think it's easy. It's not. I had to teach myself this, right? Then all these songs started coming to me, right? And then I had to convey that information without saying, I watch the Beatles stuff all the time. You guys know me. Without saying, oh, go to G and then C and then E. I don't know that. I don't know that. I don't know music. I don't know how to read music. Okay? And so that's going to be going into my property. Linoleum blown apart. I'm very sorry. I can't put the chords in there yet. So I'll have to start putting up stories from it and song lyrics. But I don't have my guitar. If you guys could please donate to the show. And don't forget, I'm not naive. I watch guys who are sitting there playing video games. They got 100 people watching them play video games. Not one person donates. So I don't expect you to donate. But I do expect to maybe use some lip balm next time. I have an uptick in dry skin ever since I got the jab to get a job. But I guess you can't talk about that stuff. Part of being in a public-private partnership is the public part. Okay? And the internet was created by our government through DARPANET, through ARPANET. Okay? And we have a right to free speech. We have something called free will, don't we? We have free will where we choose to be good or we choose to be bad. Now, that doesn't take into consideration the fact that somebody can be fucked with on the ground. And this is what I was trying to talk to you guys about these military tactics. Okay? Gangs, why would gangs use the same tactics as military tactics? That's exactly what they do. It's all propaganda. It's all psychological operations. So when you go around spray painting stuff around town, you give the appearance to people who know about what the hell you're even talking about, right? Some of this graffiti, you can't even tell what it is. But once you put that information out there, now it's in their head. Now every time they see it, right? So why would gangs, street gangs, have this sophisticated type of propaganda that they're using, right? Well, they're getting it from the military. And we know a lot of people in police departments are military, former military, right? Let's stir my coffee, check it out. Yay! So happy. This is my 50-cent coffee that I got the previous day. I told you I'm on the grift, and I am homeless. I've been homeless for about 6 months. My car was sabotaged. When I was down in Florida, my computer was attacked. I was attacked, and I was attacked through this device that you're watching me on right now, more than likely. Okay? They came in through the Facebook app, and I knew the people who were involved in this. I got some really... It's tough. There's something that I want to put up, but I don't want to offend the family. There's some information that I got that I'm going to tell you about right now. Okay, always check the description. Always check our community section. Okay, you're part of the show. You can help this show grow. My writing is up on Kindle. I put my money where my mouth is and blah, blah. I know all the old sayings from all the old commercials. Plop, plop, fizz, fizz. Oh, what a relief it is. Clicky, clicky, swipey, swipey, scrolly, scrolly, likey, likey. That's mine. Clicky, clicky, swipey, swipey, scrolly, scrolly, likey, likey. Hey? In case you don't know, I was an actor in the 90s when I had a baby face. Okay, so in the state of California, if you're brain dead, okay, they can flip the switch on you. The state can kill you. I repeat. Okay, I think they have this in Florida as well. If you're considered brain dead in the state of California, the state can flip the switch on you. What happened to me down in Florida, take a look at Bam Margera. I call it rubber baby buggy bumpers. They make him look like he's insane, right? Everyone thinks he's on drugs. Bam Margera is not on drugs. Amanda Bynes, excuse me, is not on drugs. Okay? There might be drugs in their system. But if anyone knows about drugs like I do, boy, I tell you. You can do the drugs, but within 24 hours, the effects of the drugs are gone. It's just like booze. You can drink booze the night before. When you get up, technically, yeah, they can check your system. There'll be booze in your system, but you're not drunk. You understand? You just have that booze coursing through your veins. It's as simple as that, okay? And so it's the same thing with these guys. All you have to do is maybe hit a pipe once or twice, take a pill. Now it's in your bloodstream. Now they say, oh, well, there you go. This person's loaded. And it gives you the appearance that this person's walking around loaded, when the fact is, maybe they just had a really good night. Right? Maybe they just had a really, really good night, right? Okay? So, but we're giving the state the ability to take a person's life. And I told you before, I gotta do something. There we go. I feel better like this. So, I'll back it up a little bit. Through your device, if you're targeted the way I was targeted, just because I didn't do some community service, a judge only wants you to stay out of trouble. That's what the fuck they want. Okay? I didn't say anything because I was literally dating somebody associated with the Gambino crew, okay? I wasn't about to fucking say anything, number one. I wasn't going to say anything anyways, regardless of who shoot. And affiliated, that's what it means that one of the soldiers was delivering ecstasy to my girlfriend in New York in the 90s, okay? I caught it domestic. As soon as it happened, it's like the worst feeling in the world. You realize how fucking dumb. I would have never got caught, but I actually loved the person at the time, okay? And, you know, that's the only reason I got caught. I could have just walked away, which I should, you know, you look at hindsight, man, maybe I should have. I should have just walked the fuck away. But I didn't because I actually cared about her. It was a big mistake. I actually cared about my wife. And I think a lot of men care about women, and women take advantage of this. Okay? Just the way women get taken advantage of sexually. Okay? So, I don't know where I'm going with that. Right? I always like to talk about my real life. That way you guys can understand where things are coming from. Okay? I talk about, so when my girlfriend was getting this ecstasy, it was coming from Pittsburgh. It was coming from PA. That's where it was coming from. Take a look at the mob there. They have something called the gang that couldn't shoot straight. They always make fun of the Pittsburgh mob. This is an old trope, and it just seems to me like it's a little bit of the flim-flam. Okay? When they do stuff like that, they're negating, you know, other mobs, or you know what I mean, the fluidity of the mob itself, right? They're giving the appearance like these guys don't know what they're doing or whatever. Sorry, I gotta figure something out here. Maybe like this, right? They have to figure the appearance that these guys don't know what they're doing, but in fact they really do. Like, in my opinion, I believe Sammy the Bull Gravano was actually running the Gambino crew, or a big chunk of it. I believe that John Gotti was so, I don't know, he has a personality type, okay? We can't deny this. But I believe the day-to-day was being run by Sammy the Bull, and all John had to do was just kind of show up and bullshit in the morning, see the guys as a figurehead. That's what I meant to say. Okay, so John is more of a figurehead, and that's why he was the Teflon Don. He never thought that he could get busted because, why? Because he really didn't do anything, or he didn't do anything so much as to, you could put the finger on him, right? You couldn't really, right? There was no evidence, basically. And that's why they were able to trot him out. It gets people excited, right? Take a look at Henry Hill, right? And man, boy, think about that. Henry Hill outlived Ray Liotta, who played Henry Hill. Henry Hill outlived Ray Liotta, who played Henry Hill, by 2 years. Take a look at Goodfellas. Now, when I lived in New York, Goodfellas, I went to go see Goodfellas at the theater, and when I left, guys who were in the movie were in the theater. Okay, this was like Midtown. I went to go see it in Midtown, Manhattan, somewhere. Fucking, I don't know. And when I left the theater, okay, because it had just opened in New York, we're standing around outside, and here's guys who are in the film, right? So these are guys who are in the film who can't go to the premiere. Okay, and by the way, I hope Bupkis by Pete Davidson does really well, but as an old guy like me, I hope it introduces, Joe Pesci to the new generation and blah, blah, blah. But an old guy like me, I've heard all those jokes before. I've heard all that stuff before. This is why I rip on Joey Diaz, because I was an extra in New York. I saw guys like him. Yo, dog. Yo. I mean, this kind of just dumb, moronic mentality. He does that on his show. Like, who the fuck wants to watch that? It's such a fucking cliche. The guy's a fucking cliche. You know me, guys. I actually live these lives that I'm telling you about, man. I've been through it. I can tell you, I could talk extensively about it. And the very first Orange Man was my schwigger, Arnold Schwarzenegger. And when I worked on a set with him, he was orange, just the way they call Trump. They call Trump the Orange Man. He was orange. That's what he was. He had, it's the way he looked, his makeup and everything. Of course, he had makeup on and stuff like that. But he was that orange. That's what he was. It was called The Last Action Hero. I was an extra. I talk about these stories. I talk about being an extra in a couple of Nicolas Cage films. Anyways, blah, 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 blah. So you have the notion of the mob working with the CIA. You have this old rivalry between the CIA and the FBI. And that's what they said in JFK, right? Well, the CIA is a little bit more sophisticated than the FBI. We all know that, right? Even though it's an old boys club, they used to call it. The CIA are running in dope. They're coming in, and they're probably more than likely arming these young, dumb thugs who actually believe that they're in a gang. They believe they're in a set, right? They're arming these guys. And then the FBI has to go in. Say the CIA comes in, they murder somebody because of the drug thing, just to scare everybody in the area. And then the then the local police and the FBI have to come in and try to solve the crime. Now, they're not going to be looking for somebody in another intelligence agency who did it. They're going to finger some guy on the ground, some innocent guy, right? Not completely innocent. He probably runs with a rival set. Maybe he's getting his dope from somebody else, right? You understand? So, I mean, this is the nature of the rivalry that they're talking about, even though they don't say it. Okay? This is based on not only my real life, stuff that I've read, stuff that I've seen, stuff that I know to be true. And so what we're doing here is we're using our discernment. We're using the nous. It's called the nous. You can't say the word nous because somebody's going to get triggered. I mean, this is just really, truly sad. Okay, the problem is I'm not going to live vicariously through my ancestors. Okay? I'm not going to throw my weight around and sit here and say, oh yeah, Sir Walter Raleigh, he dropped some people up. That's my crew, right? That's probably more than likely true, All right. I told you guys that story, right? Sir Walter Raleigh would be on my mother's side. I don't know who, if anybody's on my father's side, right? But that's the problem with today's society. You start living, they're teaching in schools that, you're the sons and daughters of slaves and that white people actually have privilege. I mean, this is just sick and twisted. We can see that this racial animosity that only exists between African Americans and alleged Caucasian Americans, right? When there's two other races around this globe, you can see this is fostering and fomenting, and it's being pushed more and more. Where are the kids getting this information? Okay, they're getting it not only online. Now there's a big confusion because you don't know if they're getting it online or in the schools. They're getting it in the schools. And who's teaching this stuff? Well, they're getting it from the textbooks. And where were the textbooks? They were kept in the book depository. And what's connected to the book depository? Oswald. That's where he was at. He was in a book depository. Those were textbooks. Those were school books. Now it's associated with the murder of JFK, okay? And now here we have this bizarre thing, all this bizarre information being taught to kids in the school that white people are bad and that black people have their rights trampled on, right? And again, what does your ancestors have to do with you? Nothing. We all grew up with the same possibilities, right? And again, take a look at my story, Thug Wife. It's about rising yourself up out of your social strata, right? Everybody wants to. And it's not just up and out and, getting these Gucci shoes, but it's kind of moving over, maybe making a lateral move as well. Just a change like I wanted, right? In Detroit. My band wasn't going anywhere. And again, if you don't have the backing of the community or, just everybody in the scene and stuff like that, putting you on shows, having your band open up for other bands and stuff like that, then you might as well just forget it. You're not going to go anywhere. Things aren't like they are today. And so we can see that the CIA took Route 66, right? Right? You have the CIA right here in Hollywood. You have Hollywood's connection to the Chicago mob, right? You have all those guys coming out here and working in the studio systems, right? Also bringing out a lot of the scams that they did to put in these Hollywood films, right? And that's part of the reason I'm here. I'll be writing up a chapter of Linoleum Blown Apart. That'll be the next chapter. That'll be on Kindle for sale. And just to wrap it up, like I said, the mob ties that I'm connected to in the Lucrezio family, that was the same thing, okay? These were Italians dealing drugs, one of them anyways. And, around the time of the 80s into the 90s, that started to change. And then it starts moving over to the African Americans, and they start coming up through the drug trade, right? And it's getting less and less Italian. And then you have this black mafia, which is kind of going on right now, right? And the comeuppance of that. And so then you have this notion of recruitment into these and reporting to these intelligence agencies, right? But anyway, so like I said, this whole notion of the mob and stuff like that, back in the day, they're trying to say like, and check Anytime, Anywhere. Beep, 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 beep. It's on my playlist. It's called Anytime, Anywhere. Check out some of those videos I put up. It's about the one main thing is really interesting. It's about how the FBI task force is trying to get Tony Soprano, but they're putting so much time and effort into it, they want to see a result. So they don't care. And you begin to start to question, well, who are the good guys and who are the bad guys? And that's the most amazing thing about that show. When Richie Aprile gives this advice to Christopher about not raising your hand to a woman, his life ends up he ends up losing his life because he didn't take that advice. You see what I'm saying? And so that's the beautiful irony of these television shows when they're good, okay, and not just settling for some like mediocre piece of shit show. I've been looking into David Chase. He's been working for a lot of years. I just knew him from the Rockford Files, but he had other shows. There's the show Oz is connected to his writing team. And part of the reason I'm writing Linoleum Blown Apart is because of Not Fade Away. He could have made any film that he wanted to, and he chose to make a film about rock and roll. I'm making a film about punk rock. It's got all the original music in it. And if you do this series, to be honest with you, some of the music is just going to be in the background. You're just going to kind of hear it. It's going to be played by the kids in the show. And there's so many songs and bands to choose from. It would be pretty intense to watch. I'm 57 years old. A lot of people who are into punk rock specifically, okay, are my age, and we want stuff to binge on. We want fun stuff to watch. We want fun memories of the way it was, right? You see all these guys, Scorsese making these films about how he grew up in the 50s and all that stuff. Mine is going to be how I grew up in the 1980s, and it's going to use my original music, and I think people want this original music. Check it out. Listen to my hooks in the songs. If you are a musician, listen for the hook in the song. I told you, some phony from the suburbs, Keith the Gerbil Jackson, stole my riffs. He used them in his band called the Glass Dildos. And, this is the kind of underhanded shit that I had to put up with in Detroit. I'm not going to put up with it anymore. And that's why I have a playlist called Anytime, Anywhere. Thank you very much for watching my show. I appreciate it more than you'll ever know.